Welcome back. You're still watching my story here at Church of Uganda Family TV, and today, as I told you, it has been an interesting one of hosting Barbara, of course, the director, Sanyu Baby's Home, and it has been an interesting conversation, and her sharing her story of what she went through to be what she is, particularly right now. Now here we are at Namirembe Guest House, a place you surely want to check out in terms of accommodation, meals. If you want to hold ceremonies like parties or graduation parties, they have conference rooms, everything that you would want in that kind of setting. Please do find time and check them out there. Now, I'm going back to Barbara here today, and she's going to tell me how, when, and why Sanyu Baby's Home.
Why, when, and how? Uh, December 2007, after serving for a few months in Sudan, in State Bentiu, I returned to Uganda looking for Bibles. And that meant going back to churches and the clergy that I knew. But remember, after graduation, 2007, around June, when we graduated, I submitted my applications to a number of places, including churches. And when I returned, we're looking for Bibles. So that's how I get to connect once again with Church of Uganda and Namirembe Diocese. And then somebody, when as I was introducing myself, somebody gets to know that, oh, Barbara Nankya, we have been looking for you. Your phone is off, because my applications had my phone number. And that's how I get into Sanyu Baby's Home. So I go do the series of interviews, and then in March 2008, I get into Sanyu Baby's Home. But before March 2008, along the way, as I get to meet the various people within church, that was also a difficult time for me. I have gathered lots of Bibles. I'm finding means of transporting them to Unit State Bentiu. Now, if you're going to Juba, you can get on a bus and get to Juba safely. But if you're to go to Unit State Bentiu, when you get to Juba, then in 2007, you'd either have to use a ferry, which would take you for 1 week, or get on a plane and get to Unit State Bentiu. So there's no road transport. Easy access to Unit State Bentiu. And I'm wondering, how am I going to take all these many Bibles for my ministry, prison and the youth and the priests, of course. So I go to Air Uganda. I had some friends with UN, friends that I had made from the other side, because we are all living in the same compound. So I get to speak to them. How do you get my Bibles to Unit State Bentiu right from Uganda? And also that was the time they were actually asking us after Christmas, those that are going back for ministry, register so that we can book your flight to Unit State Bentiu. And then I get into the church, and then I'm starting to do interviews. I'm like, do I register? What happens? But anyway, I succeed. And on 10th March 2008, I enter Sanyu Baby's Home as the executive director. But how and what really made me take up this huge responsibility? I call it huge because I was young. Actually, getting into Sanyu, then I was the youngest staff. But then I was supposed to lead this big team of where some ladies were 70 years old. I remember one particular one, she's now late, Jaja Babidye. Jaja Babidye was in her 80s. And then, here I go. And, you know, there are lots of babies. By then, I wasn't married. I didn't have a biological child. I didn't have any experience in administration. But one thing I know, people out there, if you're about to give up, and if God has a plan for you, He will do whatever it takes to prepare you for that particular mission that He wants you to do. And He will give you whatever it takes to sustain you there. Getting into Sanyu, I wasn't trained. Nothing. But I had passion for children. And how did I get this passion for children? Remember, I grew up from a very big family, and I took on responsibility for my young siblings at a very tender age. that made me fall in love with babies. But also at Sunday school at my local church, St. Luke's Church of Uganda, and also eventually my father, before he passed away, they opened up St. John's Church, Lusaka. So while at St. John's Church, I was so passionate about children, Sunday school, to an extent that even when I completed, when I was confirmed after my confirmation classes, I didn't feel comfortable in the big church. I always went back to Sunday school. I would be around the children, help the Sunday school teachers, and that is how I also got to know teaching Sunday school. So I really, really loved children, but also my background, the fact that I don't want to call myself an orphan. Even then, I didn't want to call myself an orphan, even though my father had passed away. I knew that I had a loving father in heaven that loved me so much. But just that background, the struggling we went through, the days when you had to go to get just one meal because that is what your mother is able to afford, but we would have it happily because we are all united, we are one, and would share so much love amongst ourselves. So that just pushed me into this ministry. And when I got to know that this is where God wants me to be, I asked God, enable me to do your work. Train me the way you want me to be. Just make me what you want me to be as I serve these children. So I got into Sanyu. Of course, there was a very supportive team. The board of governors were very, very supportive, but also the staff members were very supportive. And that is how I started the ministry in Sanyu Baby's Home since March 2008. And now 15 years down the road.
So, what inspires your dedication to, can I call it serving children?
Every time I see that a difference is made in a child's life, that keeps me going. That inspires me. When you come to Sanyu Baby's Home, you find lots of children, and each child has a story. But the stories of these children are not like any normal stories of your children that on such and such a date I conceived, went to hospital, delivered, we celebrated, and I brought my child home. No. The children we are taking care of at Sanyu Baby's Home. By the way, Sanyu Baby's Home is the oldest baby's home in Uganda. Established in 1929, so it is 94 years old now. And it was established by missionary sister Winfred Walker, who was working in Mengo Hospital then. Mengo Hospital is just over the fence of Sanyu Baby's Home. And she was a midwife, so as she was helping ladies to deliver, she realized that some ladies were abandoning their babies in the labor ward and others in the hospital compound. So she started keeping them in her home and giving them much needed care and protection until the number became huge, that it was evident she couldn't handle them by herself. So that is how Sanyu Baby's Home was established. Today, the babies that come into Sanyu Baby's Home are usually rescued from places like garbage heaps. A mother delivers, places a baby in a plastic bag, ties it properly, and dumps on a garbage heap. But there is a baby that is alive. Sometimes the babies spend so many hours on the garbage heaps. Sometimes some of the babies pass away before people come to rescue them. Some of the babies we take care of are rescued from the bottoms of pit latrines. And by the time they come into our care, they are drenched in waste and full of maggots walking out of their ears, their mouth, their private parts. There is a story of a little girl that had spent so many hours in the bottom of the pit latrine that the maggots had literally beaten her. So she had fresh wounds on her chest from the bites of the maggots. Some of the children are thrown in bushes. They are left in bushes. And then the dogs try to rescue them, pull them out of the bushes onto the roadside for human beings to see them. But a dog will use its teeth, and in the process, they bite them. The babies get injured. But there is a story of this particular baby, a one-day-old baby boy, that was abandoned in a bush near somebody's fence. And then the lady in the house inside that fence had dogs barking at 1 a.m. And the dogs were barking so hard Then at around 2 a.m., the dogs were barking so hard, but she also heard a cry of a baby. And being a mother, she couldn't sleep. So she notified neighbors, she made phone calls so that they can all go out at once to see what was going on. And only to find very many dogs surrounding this old 1 day old baby boy barking, probably saying, "Human beings, wake up, there is a human being here." Unfortunately, there were baby dogs as well, puppies, which couldn't differentiate that this was a human being of meat for them to feast on. So the puppies had literally started feasting on the 1 day old baby boy. 2 a.m., they had bitten off his umbilical cord, his private parts, and the right leg. And the baby was bleeding and crying. He was in so much pain. You all know very well that at 2 a.m. with such a case, you can hardly get much help. You don't just rush to Mulago Hospital and you tell them, "Oh, I'm a good Samaritan. Here is a baby I've rescued." You'll be held answerable. So by the time the Good Samaritans reported the case to the police and got some first aid for the baby, they walked into Sanyu baby's home at 10 a.m., 2 a.m., and 10 a.m., so many hours. We received the baby and rushed to Mengo Hospital, which is over the fence, to get an ambulance so that it can take us through the traffic jam and quickly get to Mulago Hospital. At Mulago Hospital, the doctors received us so well. They tried to work on the baby very fast. And then when I returned to Sanyu at about 5 p.m., one of the mothers, the caregiver that we left behind to take care of the baby, made a phone call to me and told me that we had lost the baby. And when I received the news that we had lost the baby, I said that how I wish the mother of this baby can get to know that we have lost him so we can mourn together. Maybe this is the same mother that is going to go back, get pregnant, deliver, and abandon. And again and again and again. Maybe this is the mother in your community, in your neighborhood, that nobody has bothered to ask, "We saw you pregnant. You don't have the pregnancy, you don't have the baby. What happened?" Other children come in after being physically abused, coming in with broken limbs. Others come in with severe malnutrition. A little girl came in at approximately 9 months old, but she only weighed 3.7 kilograms. That is birth weight. Her tummy was not used to meals anymore, that even when we gave her only 20 mils of milk, she couldn't hold the 20 mils of milk in her tummy. She was always throwing up. Other babies come in with broken limbs, but recently there is a little girl that has undergone a brain surgery, but the damage she got was from the abuse she suffered. We received her at approximately 3 years old, very malnourished, scars all over her body. But when we did our investigations, we realized that she actually has a fractured hand and the leg was also fractured. And then the left side was paralyzed. So we treated the hand and the leg, and when she got well, we started doing physiotherapy for the left hand, the side that is paralyzed. And along the way, she started getting seizures, very bad seizures, very strong seizures. So we rushed to Mengo Hospital and a brain CT scan was done. When the results came out, the doctor told us, "You must rush to Zambia Hospital and do an MRI so that we can find out what exactly, because what we are seeing in the brain is not good." After getting the results from the MRI, it was discovered that she suffered a lot of torture, that somebody attempted to kill her. And in the process, the artery carrying oxygen to the right-hand side of the brain was cut off. And that explains the stroke on the left-hand side, but also the seizures. And that meant that she had to undergo a brain surgery so that they do a bypass and to save also this other side of the brain, which is still okay. So each child has a story, but sadly, the children at Sanyu go through so much pain and some they've suffered a lot, that when they come into Sanyu baby's home and we see a difference in their lives, that keeps me going. If I see this child getting better every day, it gives me energy to keep going and keep serving. With such sad stories and sad beginnings of each of the children that come into Sanyu baby's home, it is such a joy that after a few months after a few days or weeks of these children in our care, you start seeing transformation in their life. A child that has come in weighing only 0.5 kilograms eventually starts gaining weight. A child that has spent over a month at the malnutrition ward in Mulago, Mwana Mujimu, eventually starts gaining weight, and they are becoming better and better. A child that the doctors have told you that this child is not even going to live to celebrate their second birthday, and you see them get to 2 years, and then you eventually see them get to 3 years. That brings joy. And indeed, that is what we want to see in each and every child's life that walks into Sanyu Babies Home. That is why our motto at Sanyu Babies Home is Home of Joy. But how do the children get this joy? Sanyu relies on support of people like you out there. And I know that many of you people out there have always come in to bring donations, to bring money, to bring supplies that are needed. That is what keeps us going. And that is how the children get the joy. But also a number of you have actually come you've gone an extra mile where you've opened up your hearts, your homes, to take in these children, to take them into your families so that they can become part of you. This is what we call adoption. Thank you so much for those that have done it, because at Sanyu, we believe that children belong in families and not orphanages. Despite the very bad beginning, we want to see each child go into a family, a loving family that will accept them as they are and love them and take care of them, and they will become part of the family. Many people have done it. Many people have applied. However, the challenge that we are encountering right now is that many children, like I've told you their stories, they have special needs because of what they went through before coming to Sanyu Babies Home. Maybe a child was burnt before being abandoned. And when this child arrived at Sanyu Babies Home, we even had to do a plastic surgery a number of times to ensure that this child's appearance, becomes better and better. And when parents come in, not many will like to take in such a child. And some of these children are HIV positive. Others have hydrocephalus, sickle cells, Down syndrome. Some have heart problems. Some are blind or deaf. And some of them have watched so many children, over 100 children, brothers and sisters, leave before their turn comes to leave. Because each child actually knows that they will eventually leave Sanyu Babies Home. Every morning we have morning devotion and we pray. We train the children how to pray. A 3-year-old is able to pray at Sanyu, and they will pray and ask, "Dear Jesus, please bring my mommy and daddy so that I can go home." They are all looking forward to that day when they will go home. And each time a child is leaving, it is such a big celebration at Sanyu. And then other children that have lived long at Sanyu will always come and ask, "Mommy Barbara, when will I go home? When will I cut my farewell cake and go?" But this specific child asking you, you know very well that is HIV positive. And at the moment, we have a long families waiting list, people waiting to adopt. And then we also have children waiting for families. But because these children are HIV positive, these children have special needs, additional needs, and they have waited for long. The sad news is that if these children don't get families, at 4 years old, Sanyu Babies Home will be compelled to transfer them into other child care institutions. And in most of these child care institutions, they don't get an opportunity of belonging to a family. They will give them good education, good accommodation, but they can't give them a family. And at 18 years, because they are not children anymore, Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development wants you to make these children go into independent living, because they are not children, so they can't live in a children's home. But who among you would let their 18-year-old daughter go? Because now you are an adult, you can go. So we want to see each child getting a family. So people out there, even as you pray that God will raise up families that can accept our children just as they are, so that each child living in an institution ends up getting an opportunity of belonging to a family, no matter whether they have been adopted or reunited with their living family members. We are all adopted children of God, And he calls us children. He calls us his own. He calls us friends. We are not slaves anymore. And that is what will also happen to this child if you took them into your home. Despite the fact that they are HIV positive or they have an additional need, they are children and they all deserve to be loved and welcomed into our families.
Can you share? I started with, I started very happy, but now the stories seem to be different. But I really find it interesting how you can take on any person you come across, so long as they want care. So can you share one impactful story of a particular child that you feel left an impact in basically at Sanyu Baby's home?
Uh, there is a particular child, I won't mention her name. When she arrived, she was very small for her age. She was very sick, and then she underwent treatment, but she was also found to have a serious medical problem. And the doctors said, maybe there isn't much intervention we can make for your child. But I insisted because she was in so much pain. And then the doctors agreed, they had a discussion and agreed to make that intervention. And when they were sending us home, they told me that your child will not live to celebrate their second birthday. It was a very difficult situation at that moment, but you don't want to disclose to all the staff, otherwise some might lose the hope and are looking at a dying child. So I said, God, you have this child in your hands. This child's name is inscribed on your palms. Sustain this child's life. And I decided to pray for the child every day. I decided to create extra time for this specific child. Having over 50 children at a time is not easy. As you're trying to give this one time, and then the other one comes, and then a toddler is climbing your back, and the other, so many all around you. But I purposed to have special time with this child. And then a time came, she made 2 years. And then she made 3 years. As I speak, she has left Sanyu Baby's home, but she is alive. And that is the power of not giving up. Yes, that is the power of not giving up.
That is interesting. So, and I'm looking at you having so much of your time at Sanyu Baby's home. How about family?
Family.
Your family.
My family, yes. Other than the family of my mother and my siblings, the 12 of us, along the way, when I joined Sanyu Baby's home in 2008, 2009, I met a very special person in my life, Nankya Mutagubya. So in October 2009, 31st October, we got married at St. Paul's Cathedral, Namirembe. That is 14 years down the road now. And 2010, God blessed us with our firstborn. He's now 13 years. 2012, we got a secondborn. The firstborn is a boy, Christian Charles. And then 2012, God blesses us with a girl, Trinity Abigail. She's now 12. And then 2005, God blesses us with another girl, Darlene Joy. And 2015, and then 2016, God blesses us with another boy. So 2015 and 16, those are like twins. Those were very, very busy years for me. I had another baby's home in my house. And as I serve at Sanyu, I have a duty call center at Sanyu. And God is so loving that He knew the kind of task He has given me. So He prepared a husband that will understand this task and a husband that will support my ministry. And so Nankya, my husband, has been very supportive. I want to thank you so much, Mr. Nankya Mutagubya. And he has always been by my side. Sometimes in the night when there is a child running out of oxygen, he chooses to drive the child to the hospital. Sometimes when I'm so down and, depressed because my children are not well, the Sanyu children, he's always there to encourage me. And that has kept me going. My children have also been a source of an encouragement to me. If you have a mother and you're sharing her with over 50 children, it can be very difficult as a young child. But my children have accepted my calling and have been very supportive to an extent that they know it very well every holiday. The task at hand is that you wake up early in the morning. In my house, there is no business of extending your sleep up to 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock because you're on holiday. 7 a.m. everybody's out of bed during holiday. Why? Because by 7:30, everybody must have showered, had breakfast, and they have crossed over to the baby's home to work. And I'm telling them, this is my garden. This is where we get food from. These are your brothers and sisters. And so they go to work. My children have learned to take care of babies at a very young age. You'll find if one of them is 6 years old, my youngest now is 7, has just made 7, but he can't feed a baby, and he will warn you, be careful, that is a baby you're carrying. Carry the baby very well. And he's only 7.
Does he know how to carry well?
Yes, he carries the baby very well, and he's telling you, be careful if you're a visitor or you're a volunteer. He will warn you. I remember recently was passing on one of the babies to me, and he told, Mommy, be careful, that's a baby. My 8-year-old knows how to dress up a little baby and give them their diaper and feed them, bottle feeding. So I'm so glad that God has given me a family that has been very supportive. We always have our family time. I've learned through a very difficult way when sometimes my children have to remind me, oh, Mommy, you've been away for a very long time. The other day you came back when you were sleeping, and then today, and the other day you had a sick child. Mommy, today is Sunday, are you going to be home? And then you're like, okay, I have ministry, I have to talk about the babies at this church, but I'm going to ensure that I return very early at home to spend time with you.
That's interesting. So what Bible verse basically drives you?
My Bible verse that drives me, and that Bible verse has kept me going, is in the book of Galatians, Paul's letter to the Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9, which says that let us not get weary in doing good. For at a proper time, we shall reap a harvest if we don't give up. My brothers and sisters out there, don't give up. Let that scripture speak in your life. If you are at the verge of giving up, don't get weary. Just keep doing that good thing. And when you do good, you feel good. And when you feel good, you do more good. Even for our dear friends out there that have been supporting Sanyu Baby's Home, maybe you're thinking Barbara's been begging you for a very long time, because I told you we rely on donations. And you're thinking that, I'm about to give up. I've supported you enough. But remember, every day children are coming in. Please don't get weary. Just keep on doing good. For at a proper time, God will bless you. We have a huge project. We need money at the moment at Sanyu Baby's Home. We want to be self-sustainable. SNV has given us a grant of $48,000, and they want us to contribute the equivalent. We need $48,000. That is approximately 179 million shillings. And this project is an energy efficient project. It is helping us to save energy, but also preserving environment. It is going to provide us with enough energy from solar to light the entire home, to cook, to boil water, but to also run all the home electrical appliances, including the industrial washing machines. And this implies that if you people out there give us the $48,000, Sanyu Baby's Home will not have to buy charcoal anymore, which is very expensive these days. We will not have to buy firewood anymore. We will not have to pay the huge electricity bills which we are paying today. But we will also have a clean environment. We will be preserving the environment. No more trees cut down because we don't need firewood anymore. And then it will also make our task much lighter as we strive to fulfill our mission of providing Christ-like love to the babies and children deprived of parental love, and reintegrating them into community through reuniting them with their living family members, fostering or adoption.
This is interesting. So, I understand as a person who grew up from church, you must be having some favorite gospel song or some favorite hymn. Sort of. Do you have one?
Oh, yes.
So, can you please sing for us your favorite
I
hymn?
used to be a singer, but not a very good one. And my favorite hymn, it is so sweet to trust in Jesus.
Oh.
It is so sweet to trust in Jesus. That keeps me going because every time challenges come my way, every time I'm about to give up, and then I know if I trust in Jesus, things are going to be well, and I'll keep going and going and going.
Can we see how good you were?
No, not now, not now.
Okay, that is how you truly are escaping this. But it has really been interesting to really have this conversation with you. Basically, knowing how you take much care of these young children who come to your need somehow, somewhere. So, in your last in your last conversation, please help me speak to a mother out there. A mother out there, majorly, these ones who tend to neglect these children.
Mothers out there, at the moment you might be struggling and might be at the verge of giving up. Probably you are thinking about abandoning your child or carrying out an abortion or just running out of that marriage and abandon children there. I just want to encourage you that there is a God that cares and there is a God that will see you through that situation you're going through. Don't give up on your children. Just remind yourself that children are a gift from the Lord. And God never gives us gifts that will make us suffer. God never gives us gifts that will make us cry. Even if you've been weeping at the moment, just remember that, yeah, weeping may endure for a night, but joy always comes in the morning. Just look up to the Lord and know that joy is coming. Joy is coming, and just hold on. Hold on to your children, love your children, take good care of them, protect them, and trust in the Lord. You will make it. Do not abandon your child.
Joy is coming indeed. Joy is coming. Do not give up. Do not abandon that child indeed. Thank you. It has been a really great honor to have you, Mrs. Barbara, here. And of course, giving encouragement for someone out there who might have thought to give up and of course neglect their child or do something of that kind. But please never give up. The Lord is watching. He is always there and He will truly help you. It has been great, and of course, as we started, exciting. It kind of went low, but of course, realizing that the kind of help that the Sanyu Babies Home gives joy to people out there. Of course, we have to conclude in a happy way. It has been a great pleasure here. And we have been at Namirembe Guest House, of course, a place you should really check out in any sort of accommodation, any sort of meals. They have the best. Actually, they have the African dish here is very exceptional. So please check it out. Jonah Jalo Wakabi has been on camera. My name is Luke Majumba Alinaito, and I've been sitting in for Edwin Mukalazi here in My Story. Not my story, but My Story, the program. Thank you and have a nice time.